Now when I say Halo 5 Forge, what's the first thing you think of? Well, of course, it's going to be Halo 5's Forge mode. But did you know that Halo 5 is available on PC? While not every feature is a part of it, it does have two main features from Halo 5. It's Forge and it's multiplayer excluding Warzone and anything that contains AI. It's called Halo 5 Forge and is available for free on the Microsoft Store. Let's start with why they ported it. Can you think of a reason as to why they ported it? Now, I'm pretty sure that their reason was that it would let forgers use a more precise controls, which makes sense, but at the same time, it doesn't. Now let's take a step back and look at it. Now if you were a forger, you would have some free time, and of course, you would be spending it on the Xbox, therefore spending less time on, I don't know, let's say a PC, thus you're less likely to put much money into a PC, which can also run Halo 5 Forge. Brings me to my next complaint, performance. Now for those who say, oh, it's just my PC, it's probably not. I have a GTX 1050 Ti and it should be more than capable of running Halo 5 Forge at full settings. If they had taken some time in optimizing the game, it probably could. So let's take a look at what would make Halo 5's Forge run so slow graphics wise. The lighting and shadows. Well, technically no for the most part, because as we can see in Forge, the lighting is pre-rendered. Now of course, things like the player and vehicle aren't, but for the most part, it is. Not to mention Halo 5 Forge as first person shadows, but in most areas you cannot tell because of the little transition that shadows tend to have. Now there is only one spot on one map where you can truly see the first person shadows loud and clear, and that map is Overgrowth. In this corner, as you can see, the weapon has first person shadows. Also, there are puddles of water that reflect accurately, but it's extremely hard to see anything being reflected unless it's a bright kind of color. So why exactly does it run slow then? I would say no one really gave a shit about the port to begin with, therefore no one optimized it, and it shows. One of the most critical things you could add to a PC port of a game would be a field of view slide. There are only a few types of games I reckon could get away with this, but a first person shooter on PC should have an FOV slider, and for those who say animations and other issues would arise are wrong, because there is a tool by the name of Exuberant that adds an FOV slider and many other things to enhance the experience of Halo 5 Forge. It's kinda sad that fans of the game themselves have to fix many problems of the game. Now customization, how does that work? Well, in one of the worst ways possible. Now if you want to customize your Spartan, you can do it in one of two ways, both of them being out of the game itself. The first way is to be going on to Halo Waypoint and customize your Spartan through that, or the only other option, which is to boot up an Xbox and customize your Spartan in Halo 5 Guardians. Now this just pisses me off. To start off with, they couldn't even be bothered with putting the customization section to Halo 5 Forge, not to mention that you can preview your Spartan before getting into a match. Like surely it couldn't be that hard to put a bunch of options to change your Spartan in game. And the worst part is they don't even tell you what your other two options are for customizing your Spartans. What they should have done at the very least is have a section called customization and just have it go to the Halo 5 customization section on the Halo Waypoint website at the very least, but they couldn't even be bothered to do that. Now the loot packs are just as bad, because if you don't own Halo 5 Guardians, the only way of unlocking anything is by just opening the daily loot packs, with no other way to unlock any other pack within Halo 5 Forge, and you have to log in through HaloWaypoint.com. Also, rec cards have pretty much no use in Halo 5 Forge because of there being no Warzone, and so many armors that you actually want are pretty much impossible to get. But thanks to a mod called Exuberant that I've talked about earlier, you can actually customize your Spartan to have it look like whatever you want with any colors and any armors. While this only does affect what you see, I still think it's neat. Now, one of the most important things about Halo 5 Forge would, of course, be Forge mode. Now Forge mode is pretty much a 1-for-1 copy of Halo 5 Guardians, but is compatible with keyboard and mouse. Now the mode itself is good, allowing those who want to forge to do almost anything they want to. The only downside I can think of is that when I add an item from one of the submenus and then I open it for, let's say, about a minute, if it gets the section I picked out and puts the default selection menu instead of the submenu I picked out. Now truth be told, I don't know if this is a bug or was done on purpose. Either way, I'd personally like it to remember what submenu I had picked out. So they have not put a lot of effort into all of that. But what about the keyboard and mouse controls? Don't ask me how, but they managed to fuck that up as well. For some reason, they didn't take the time to polish one of the most important things when it comes to making a port of a game to PC. I'm going to start off with the keyboard controls because it's easier to describe. Now, for the most part, the keyboard controls are fine. There's no noticeable input lag and it can keep up with my button presses. But one of the things you can't do is to change the key bindings to certain keys, like tab for instance, for no other reason than it's being used for the pop-up scoreboard, which cannot be changed for some reason. Now due to this, I've had to change my switch weapon key from tab to Q in every single game so that I have no inconsistencies between them. I shouldn't have to change my preferred key bindings because the game doesn't want me to. There's no reason as to why certain actions would have unchangeable key bindings. Now just as a nitpick, the controls for the Banshee is a little dumb because to switch between the Banshee bomb and the plasma torrents, I need to press Q when I should be able to use the left and right options to use them, similar to that of Halo 1 and 2 ports on the PC. I would say the way that the mouse works is even worse. While I can for the most part change bindings to whatever I want, the way it converts my mouse strokes and movements in game is a little off. In a sense, it feels as if it's emulating my movements into a sort of controller. Not to mention there's also input lag, making it way harder to get your shots to hit enemies. Now the most surprising thing they messed up would be the chat system. For one, there is no option to use a microphone, which would be more easier and convenient to use. And two, the chat system is set up in a bad way. Now what I mean by this, if someone types something and you're too busy fighting or you're in forge mode and that text disappears, there's no way to see what that person read. Normally you would press the chat button and all the newest messages will show up, but not with Halo 5 Forge. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's such a shame too, something that could be fixed so easily. Had they fixed and polished up this game a bit more, it'd be so much more playable and likable. Unfortunately, it was rushed to us in such a bad condition. I do feel as if it was a missed opportunity that could be turned into so much more. Now for those wondering why I didn't talk about things like the gameplay itself, the reason I didn't talk about it is that I more or less want to talk about the quality of the port and features that it has or didn't add than taking a jab from Halo 5 Guardians itself. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, leaving a like would very much help me out, and I hope to see you again soon.